Hi everyone, I'm Rory and I'm going to walk you through how to play Dead Letter Society. Dead Letter Society is a 1 to 2 player tabletop role-playing game about vampires who communicate with each other via a secret network. When you're not writing letters to each other, you are exploring the world around you and attempting to answer the mountain of questions that you will create. Vampire games can come with serious baggage, so I highly recommend using safety tools when you play this game. To play a game of Dead Letter Society, you will need 1 to 2 willing players, an application form for the in-game Dead Letter Society, or somewhere to just note down your answers, a place to write, keep notes and exchange ideas, and a tarot deck, which you will split into 2 decks, one for the major arcana and one for the minor arcana. You'll shuffle them and keep them separate. We start by deciding the type of game that we both find compelling to play. That's both tone and genre. We could look at themes of friendship or rivalry, conspiracies, mysteries, politics, betrayal. You get the idea. And we're vampires, but when and where are we vampires? Is it ancient Rome, modern day Victorian London, or on a space colony in a galaxy far, far away? We also talk about the logistics of the game. Are we in the same city but unable to meet, on opposite sides of the world? Or do we want our letters to span periods of weeks, decades, centuries? And also, how long do we want this game to last? I really recommend that you decide on an end point for your game, because it makes a big difference when you know you only have 4 letters each to tell your story in. Now we're going to build a setting together, and you can skip this part if you're playing with a setting that you both already know or with one of the pre-written playsets that are included with the game. This is a very collaborative process, just like the rest of the game. And at the end of it, you will have in hand some key story touchstones that you can return to in your letters and your journals. You'll decide what makes a vampire, what humanity is like from a vampire's perspective, and also what kind of society have vampires made in this world. We work together and pick a total of 4 keywords, that's 2 each, taken in turns, from this list of traits. Then we assign 2 to be blessings and 2 to be curses, things that vampires think are positive about their kind and negative about their kind. For example, we could have the age-old trope of sunlight. It could be the classic thing of sunlight turns you to ash. Or it could be that you can walk in daytime, or you can walk in the sun but your powers are gone. Or sunlight reveals our true form, whatever that might be. Or it burns or stings or tickles or sparkles. Deciding on how humanity appears to vampires is a similar process. We again pick 4 words from a list of traits, this time broader, and decide which 2 of them do we think are admirable, or which 2 are deplorable. What do we love about humanity, and what do we hate about it? Last but not least, we decide on the society that vampires live in. We pick 4 words again, but this time we don't assign them to be positive or negative. Instead, we decide how it came to be that way, and also ask a question about it that we might try to resolve during play. For example, we might pick the word secrecy and decide that vampire society has strict rules that humanity can never find out about us. And then we ask the question, what happens if they do? Making a character is as simple as filling in an application form to the in-game Dead Letter Society. It will ask you some simple but probing questions, such as your name or your pronouns, your favourite possession, where your sanctuary is. Your answers to these questions make the assets your vampire starts the game with. After you've filled in your application form, you swap with the opposite player and you decide what the fee is that the society charges you for your membership. It could be a task that they want you to perform, or maybe they hold some sway over an ally that you have. Assets are the things that you will call on to help you navigate the world. There are 6 types of assets: items, locations, and actors, scars, principles, and ambitions. Items are things like keys, books, cars, phones, things that you can move from one location to another. Locations are places where things happen. This could be your sanctuary, a coffee shop, a library, an ancient ancestral home you haven't visited in decades. Actors are the people of importance to your story. Allies or rivals, human, vampire, or even something else entirely, it's up to you. Scars can be physical or emotional. It could be an ugly stab wound, or it could be that you can never trust again after a heartbreaking betrayal. Principles are the morals that guide you. You might always be right. You might never eat after midnight. You might never leave your food alive. And ambitions are the goals and tasks you want to achieve. When you set a new ambition, you give it a difficulty from 1 to 3. And throughout the game, you will make progress and also regress on those ambitions, and hopefully achieve some of them. You'll use assets when answering writing prompts, either developing them or forfeiting them. If you're developing an asset, you might be creating a new asset or adding some extra detail to an existing one. If you're forfeiting it, you may be giving it up or sacrificing it, or it may be taken away from you. If you ever find yourself without an appropriate asset to forfeit, pick another type of asset instead. If you have no assets left, your vampire is destitute, and you should discuss with the other player what the consequence of that should be. You may need to take out a loan with a hefty penalty, run to avoid your obligations, or some other consequence. Gameplay proceeds in 3 phases: letter, society, and chronicle. Each player starts in a different phase, so you always have something to do. If you're playing with the optional rule, the story so far, each player also gets an additional chronicle phase before the game begins. The letter phase is as simple as it sounds. You write a letter, but what you write shapes the course of the game and inspires everything that follows. If you feel stuck, there's lots of advice in the rulebook. The society phase happens after you write your letter and send it, or in the case of one player at the start of the game, after they submit their application form. Draw 1 card from the Major Arcana and consult its writing prompt. Each prompt has 3 interactions with your assets, which you can complete in any order, and a question, which focuses on the relationship between you and the Dead Letter Society. This is where you will receive a letter and pursue topics of interest. You begin the Chronicle phase with 3 Chronicle points, and you spend these to either follow through on an intention or add depth to an ongoing intention. You can read the letter you receive at any point in this phase. Intentions are how you take action in the game, and they are a how, what, where, or why type question. For example, I go to the Blue Moon Lounge. What do I discover? I'm expecting trouble. Or, I know Jules the Rat doesn't like me. How can I improve his opinion of me? And then we draw a card from the Minor Arcana, we look at its prompt and resolve it. The Minor Arcana prompts are different to the major ones in that you have 3 parts. There's one central prompt which sets the scene, and then you've got a choice between 2 other prompts which develop different assets. Answer whichever one you prefer, and treat it either as all one prompt or 2 separate prompts, whichever you think works best for you. The other thing you can do with the Chronicle point is to add depth to a current journal entry. If you're writing and you think you need something a bit extra here, or you're wondering how it might turn out, spend 1 Chronicle point, draw another card from the Minor Arcana, and consult its prompt, and then weave that into your original intention. You'll carry on progressing through the phases, writing letters back and forth and acting on their content and the content of your journal, until you either reach your agreed upon endpoint or find a satisfying conclusion for your stories. After the final letter is sent, both players get to complete one last Chronicle Phase as an epilogue and a way to find closure for your vampires. Share your journals if you like to, and see how the game evolved between you. I really hope you enjoy Dead Letter Society, and that it supports you to tell the stories you want to tell. Look after yourself, and have fun.